So we are pleased today to propose you a second session of our program, a dialogue between activists from social movements about WSF. I am Pierre George from the Forum Connect team, along with Kinchi and Mike. Mina, who is the fourth member, is not with us today, and she's apologizing because she's trying to cross India to find her place before the lockdown in front of the second wave that's hitting the country. So she won't be there today. Forum Connect is a group, a working group, self-organized, that's trying to develop a body of knowledge through dialogues on the issue of why and how participate in the World Social Forum. And we rely on the experience of those who participate and those who facilitate, that's organize the social manifestation of the social forum process. So will be 2 hours, and today we have 4 panelists who are all from Asia region. So far, one is missing, but we hope to get hold of him. So I will start. So each panelist will have a 5-minute intervention, and then we try to develop some dialogue between them. They have been receiving some standard question, but other questions that would appear when they in their interventions are welcome. So without any more ado, I will give the floor in alphabetical order to Farooq. Farooq Tariq is from Pakistan. He is a general secretary of Kisan Rabita, a peasant coalition, and is coordinator of different peasants, small farmers, fisher folks, and agricultural workers organization and movement across the 5 provinces of Pakistan. He's also alternate member of South Asia International Coordination Committee, La Via Campesina, an advisor for South Asian Alliance for Poverty Eradication, and is on International Organizing Committee of Asia-Europe People's Forum. So Farooq, the floor is yours for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I am greetings to everyone from Lahore. I am sitting actually on a side road of a motorway while I was driving from my home to Lahore. So excuse me if there are some noises from backside. I want to share my experiences of World Social Forum, which I have been involved since 2002. I would say that it was one of the most fascinating processes that started at the time. We heard it first time from our friends of Green Left in Australia when I sent them a mail, what is happening in Porto Alegre? So they told us this is the new process started, and if you want to be part of it, you should organize something in Pakistan. And that's what I did alongside with Karamat Ali, Fahim Zaman, Irfan Mufti, Tehseen, Nigat, and many other activists in Pakistan. We started this process and we organized Pakistan Social Forum and participated in large numbers at the Great World Social Forum of 2004 in Mumbai. I actually led a delegation of 200 Pakistani activists by train from Lahore to Mumbai, a train travel of nearly 30 hours. And it was great to be there. I brought a pamphlet called Rise of Political Islam, was sold out. I got it printed in one day in India again. It was sold out. So it was a great enthusiasm at the time. And then we also organized some regional social forums in India and also in Pakistan. And then we organized our own World Social Forum in Karachi in 2006, where over 35,000 participated. And this was like one of the event which laid down the basis for a united opposition to military dictator General Musharraf. When I was in India, I said great numbers have gathered in Mumbai. Now we will get rid of BJP in India. And they got rid of BJP, Vajpayee government after that World Social Forum. That's what I said in Karachi in several meetings, that we will get rid of General Musharraf. And because there was a lot of enthusiasm, first time in 6, 7 years, we were allowed to speak up at a place where there was no fear, and all the nationalists were there, trade unions were there. It was a very good sort of uh, a gathering in Karachi. But the thing which put me down was Nairobi event. We went to attend the Nairobi World Social Forum, and it was like a commercialized World Social Forum. Uh, I don't know if you know that I said I will not speak in any of the meetings. I will cook because the food was very expensive. So I cooked in our hotel and sold for less than $1 for 3 days. Over 1,000 people eat from my stall at the World Social Forum in Nairobi, and that's where we the South Asian got in contact with each other, and I met the activist of SAPE, and I was involved afterwards with this South Asia Alliance for Poverty Eradication. So our slogan at that time was, "This is an anti-capitalist curry. This is an anti-Bush curry. This is an anti-imperialist curry, and come and eat here." So I attended the meeting after the World Social Forum, also in Nairobi, where I raised all this issue, and but afterwards, it, I didn't feel enthusiasm to be part of World Social Forum because I thought the process is losing something. And since then, we have been in contact. There is some activism in Pakistan, but I have come out of it, and this is first time I am attending a meeting and sharing my experiences of World Social Forum. Thanks to Meena Menon, who is my colleague at AEPF, Asia Europe People's Forum, and she asked me to be part of this meeting. So that's where I'm speaking. I'm very happy that once again I can speak up to see if we can do something, we can revive some golden traditions which had at one time. I don't know much about what has happened afterwards. Fahim Zaman was not active, Karamat Ali was not active. All those social activists from Pakistan who attended meetings afterwards, they are still there, but they are not active. And I hope that after this meeting, I would also hear the other views and see the possibilities in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Farooq. You have been very good with the time. Uh, we'll, oh, sorry, my video. Yes, thank you. So now I think about Pakistan, what is a bit of a mystery is the reason why after the Pakistan Social Forum of 2006, there's been no further in Pakistani process of this level. So that's something that maybe some people will try to understand and comment. Thanks for being here after, I understand, nearly a decade of taking a distance, and it's an occasion for you to reconnect. Our group is called Forum Connect, and that's our mission, I would say, self-appointed, self-assigned. Now we'll move to Mikyung from Korea. Mikyung is International Director of the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, KCTU, which is the largest workers' nation center of trade unions in South Korea and one of the most militant worker movements in Asia. Before joining the KCTU, Mikyung was working as a policy coordinator as the Korean People's Action Against WTO and FTA. She had attended International Committee of the WSF representing KCTU and COPA and was coordinator of the Korean edition of the Global Day of Action in January 2008. So the floor is yours, Mikyung. Tell us about your experience of participation in the WSF. 5 minutes.
Thank you so much for this initiative and inviting me this meaningful dialogue. As far as I understand, this is an attempt to bring social movement and activists together again and reconnect them to each other to build an alliance at the international level. I think this is so important at the time of a worldwide crisis that the pandemic brought about. The problems we are facing are common, but the resources needed to solve these problems are unequal. So we have to seek a global solution and think about how to realize them. So I hope this series of discussion could contribute in building up a momentum, the international solidarity among social movements. Last year, the KCTU celebrated the 25th years anniversary. Upon its foundation, the KCTU had to face the Asian financial crisis and IMF's structural adjustment program and neoliberal reform of the labor relation as a conditionality of the bailout the IMF provided. As an immediate response, the KCTU, the one-year-old organization at the time, which was not legally recognized by the government due to the Regressive Trade Union Act, staged a nationwide strike for around 1 month. This strike sparked a heated debate among Korean social movements, how to build the social movement against the international financial institutions such as the IMF, the World Bank, and WTO, and other international institutions which promoted the neoliberal globalization, and what could be the alternatives of them, protectionism, nationalism, or anything else. At the time, the World Social Forum provided us a new way of thinking. We met various social movements from every corner of the country, corner of the world, which supported the internationalism of people's movements, so as to say globalization from below, instead of the neoliberal globalization led by the International Financial and Trade Organization and transnational capitals. The idea was called as Alter Globalization Movement. They believed that the alternative could be formed by building a universal ideology and social movement suitable for it, which sublated the reality caused by the neoliberal globalization, the national and racial division and repression and exclusion. Within the space of the WSF, social movements collectively try to list up the rights of all the people and achieve them through the people's movement. Through this new way of thinking, we found a strategical ground upon which we could stand against the neoliberal globalization and at the same time build international solidarity with various social movements in other countries. From the beginning, from the first edition of the WSF, Korean social movements sent delegations every year, and the number of participants kept increasing. For example, from 3 in 2001, some dozen in 2002, some 30 in 2003, 100 in 2004, and 150 in 2005, etc. Especially in 2004 and 2005, Korean participants were very active in different plenary and workshops, and some were hosted by Korean organizations by themselves. This is thanks to the translators, especially in 2004 and 2005. Korean language was one of the official language, and Korean interpreters were allocated in many sessions. It was very important for us. The most important part of the World Social Forum I found was the Social Movement Assembly. Every edition of the World Social Forum, social movement and mass movement gathered and discussed the social, economical, and political situation that social movements are facing, and tried to build consensus on the urgent action points. As the outcome of this discussion, the Social Movement Assembly produced a call for action with some list of the Global Day of Actions. Through this process, some key actions were able to organize, including the Global Day of Action against the US invasion in Iraq in 2003, and mobilization against the WTO in Cancun and in Hong Kong. This format of social movement assembly was adopted by the Korean social movement to mobilize social movements domestically or regionally. For example, in 2005, when Korea hosted APEC, apart from the mass mobilization near the meeting venue, we also organized a People's Forum to invite various social movements in the region, I mean Asia. The forum, the participants adopted a statement, including the call for action and resolution on continuation of regional and international exchange and solidarity to strengthen the anti-globalization movement. We did in the same way when Korea hosted the East Asia Economic Forum, the sub-regional edition of the World Economic Forum. The Global Day of Action in 2008 was another good tool for anti-globalization movements, I remember, with which we could demonstrate that we exist everywhere and we are connected to one another. On January 26th of the year, we were invited to stage any kinds of action with our own demands at noon in our own time zone. Maybe the Korean one was the first. This year's virtual WSF reminded me that experience, and now we are better prepared to that kind of activity due to the various tools and technology. During the virtual WSF, the International Trade Union Confederation proposed a new social contract as a route to better post-COVID-19, and various trade union confederations in other countries, different countries held a session, and as a result, we adopted a statement titled "Vaccine for All" on occasion of the World Health Day, the April 7. So the question for us is how we can build the power to realize this idea. So in a nutshell, for the future action, I think the Social Movement Assembly I mentioned, and the Global Day of Action of 2008, and the virtual WSF could be the reference for the action and continuation of the WSF process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mikyung. Oh, so did the video all the time. Sorry. Yes, thank you very much, Mikyung. Your presentation has insisted on the Global Day of Action and the similarity that it has with the virtual forum that was held in the beginning of that year, which has opened new possibilities of inclusion of people, organization despite distance. And it's a challenge for the next World Social Forum that is being prepared in Mexico next May of 2022, because the idea is to have a mixed format with a face-to-face event, probably open to online participation, and a virtual World Social Forum event too, So this is not yet defined, but of course there is an interest of preparing this and also using those formats in a more continuous way. So this is also something, the forms of participation can evolve, and I understand you're open to reconnecting with those formats. Now we can welcome Boonthan from Thailand. Boonthan, are you with us? Boonthan is a former Secretary General of Asian Students Association in the 90s. He has been a program officer of Asian Cultural Forum of Development, ACFOD, a regional organization facilitating the human rights movement in Asia Pacific. Is involved in campaign for popular democracy in Thailand since 91 coup. Is active on People's Plan for the 21st Century, PP21. Is also involved in various national, regional, and international human rights movements. And he participated in the World Social Forum in 2002 in Porto Alegre. So Boonthan, you're most welcome. The floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Pierre. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning for our friends in this platform. So sorry for a bit late. So I was running from one place to the other. Can you hear me? Can you hear me clear?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, thank you for inviting me to this platform. I understand that actually I supposed to be one of the less experienced within the World Social Forum process. Since my last interaction with World Social Forum in Puerto Rico and also the Bangkok Thai Social Forum instead of the Asian Social Forum in 2006. You can see my T-shirt at the back. That's from the Puerto Rico 2002 World Social Forum. So I still keep it, and that activities have been inspiring us quite a lot in terms of the strengthening the international solidarity movement among the like-minded people movement throughout the region, not just only in Thailand. In 2002 that I was there in Puerto Rico, there are around almost 20 Thai delegations over there representing the trade union movement, the farmers, the urban poor communities, and also many people who have been involved in the political movement. And one of the inspiring sessions during that World Social Forum in Puerto Rico in 2002 is about the session regarding the relationship between the social movement and the political party, sorry. So that is also the hot debate and one of the plenary there. So almost of the Thai delegation have been presented there, because that is also one of the very crucial issues since the democratic movement here in Thailand and also the region started sometimes in 1970s. So many of you may heard about the situation in Asia, that we always facing the problem with the militarization or authoritarianism, and also somehow some countries have facing the question of the imperialism and also the superpower, Cold War, this and that, until things have been changed afterward. So in the 1980s, 1990s, there's also the series of popular uprising in the region throughout Asia and the Pacific, starting from the people movement in the Philippines. We call the EDSA, the people powers, against the dirty election in 1986, overthrowing the Ferdinand Marcos, the dictator of the Philippines. In 1986, we also faced some experience that our friend from Korea, brother and sister in Korea, have some political movement rise up during that time. Our sister Mikyung might tell the story sometime later on. Again, in 1988, the popular uprising in Burma, just like what is happening now in the country when the military took over on the February of the 1st, of this year. Porto Alegre World Social Forum has also inspired us, since we also have learned from each other in the region. But Porto Alegre is providing us the platform that we were able to learn from our brother and sister from America, South America, and Latin America. How do they struggle for dignity, for their livelihood, for their humankind? That is also something very much inspiring us, because we felt that we share the similar struggle against the authoritarian regime, but we seldom heard from one another. I think that is also the value of the World Social Forum have providing to us. I haven't been involved in the World Social Forum since 2006. Once Bangkok have been hosted the how do you call that, the Thai Social Forum instead of the Asian Social Forum during that period, because of some difficulties, some uneasiness, to make the thing happen, because of the organizing the huge activities and international event is really needs some sort of strong commitment, and also what is kind of collaboration and support from different stakeholders. As mentioned earlier by Pierre, our moderator, that I was part of the people process called People Plan for the 21st Century, which have been started in 1989 in the cities of Tokyo, of Japan. It's also converging, come out with the Minamata Declaration at the end, after almost 15 international political forums on various key issues. So Minamata Declaration have been also give us the very clear understanding that the so-called development are not really development in the eye of the people. Minamata is representing the very ugly face of industrialization. Many of you might heard about the Minamata disease. This that some industry have leaking the pollution into the Minamata Bay and causing the disease. They call it itai disease, and also cause this mercury accumulation in the blood. Is and that is affected to the whole people, in the whole region in the southern part of Japan. So that is also symbolizing the very ugly face of industrialization in our century. That's what we have been able to learn from the very first thing, besides the political and democratic movement from our region. Anyway, Thailand was able to host the second PP21 event in 1992 in December. Actually, that is only 6 months. That was 6 months after the military crackdown against the peaceful people movement, peaceful protest by the mass movement, which strongly come out to the street. More than 1 million came out to the street opposing to the military coup in February in 1991. Just like what happening now in Burma, so that we feel very strongly that we are also sharing our sorrow, we are also sharing our faith with many of our brothers and sisters in the region. So the Thailand PP21 is also highlighting the issue of the participatory democracy at the local, national, and international level. Is also the platform for sharing our experience from our brother and sister in the region. Fortunately, we have some friends from Africa and Latin America to join, but not so many. Anyway, 3 years later, we were able to hold another third PP21 conversion in Kathmandu. Earlier was supposed to do it in Sri Lanka and Colombo, but due to some explosion and also political unrest and military attack here and there, in conflict in Colombo in Sri Lanka, we were not able to host it in Colombo. So we organized it in Kathmandu instead. During that period, Kathmandu, our Nepali brothers and sisters were also striving for their political change, because of they were living under extreme poverty. At that time, Nepal had been regarded as one of the poorest country, one of the 10 poorest country in the world. Part of the problem is because of their running the country under the absolute monarchy. Everything depend on only one single person or everyone also regarded this as one of the problematic area because one single word of one single person can be regarded as the law. I think this is also the problem of many other countries. Not sure whether it's also happening in our country, our friend from South Africa and Latin America. Anyway, I think that is something that I can share with you. So we are now in the process for putting up our momentum in order to work together in the region, especially focusing on Southeast Asia. Sorry for a little bit long, but just try to sum up here that starting from 2000 onward, we were able to put ourselves together among the Southeast Asian country, especially from the human rights organization and also the democratic movement, including various stakeholders. We were able to organize some sort of the activities. I mean, the sub-regional activity, we call it ASEAN People Forum, starting from 2005 onward. We organize it every year activities in order to parallel to the ASEAN Summit. ASEAN Summit is the regional bloc of the government in the region, but seldom is always forgotten the voice of the people. So we organize the ASEAN People Forum in order to raise the voice of the people in Southeast Asia, in order to remind the leader to take into consideration the question of life and death and also the suffering of the people in the region. So I think this is something in brief that I can also share with you about our experience. Sorry that I couldn't share much about the experience from the World Social Forum. What I can say is that World Social Forum have provided us a very meaningful platform to learn from one another. So in terms of the technical arrangement of procedure, I think we can also learn from each other. I can also learn from you. You can also learn something from us. So thank you for your time to allow me to share with you. Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you, Boonthan. Well, it's the video which it's puzzling to see that, I mean, you have been inspired, those 20 activists from Thailand going in Porto Alegre in 2002. And I don't know if you have kept relationships together, you have lived this experience and how it has been inspiring. At the same time, as you said, we had, after the Bangkok Social Forum in 2006, I think, you said some difficulties, it's uneasiness to make things happen, need commitment from stakeholders. So this, at the same time, you have created other platforms that maybe less ambitious than the more sectorial. But so this is also a reflection about we can develop further in the discussion. Thank you, Boonthan.
You're welcome.
Now we go to our last panelist, which is Varghese Teckanath. He is the founder director of Montfort Social Institute, Center of Human Rights and Sustainable Development Education in Hyderabad, India. He's a grassroots activist working for the protection of the rights of the urban working classes for over 30 years through labor unions and Slum People's Federation. He's on the core committee from Asia of the International Alliance of Inhabitants. His executive committee of the Working People Charter Network and other organizations in India. Is a life member of the Brothers of St. Gabriel Society, a faith-based organization with a global presence promoting education and development. Over to you, Varghese, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Pierre. I think it's a very blessed moment as the World Social Forum celebrates its 20th anniversary of its very first meeting. And thank you, especially thank you, Mike, for inviting me. Thank you for this opportunity to be part of this dialogue between social movements. on this occasion. To take a personal digression, looking for ideological moorings in a milieu marked by the advent of globalization in the the later part of the 20th century, in the early part of the 21st century. WSF and its network offered me personally a great relief in finding an anchor for myself. But it is not until the Asian Social Forum meeting that was organized in my city, Hyderabad, in 2003, that I really came in touch with the WSF as part of the organizing committee here. And I think the Bombay World Social Forum in 2004 was a very great experience. In fact, perhaps that was one of the most successful World Social Forum meetings that were held. The organizers had anticipated a participation of about 75,000 people, but then actually about 130,000 people participated in that meeting. There were 14,000 foreign delegates from 117 countries that came to Mumbai on that occasion. There were about 1,653 different events and workshops that were organized. So that was a very great experience for me personally and all those who attended that. I have been part of, ever since I have been part of the World Social Forum, especially the last one, the Indian Social Forum meeting that was organized again in Hyderabad 3-4 years ago. So I have been engaged with WSF in one form or other since 2003. But the world has changed considerably since the first meeting of the WSF. This is particularly so in India, perhaps in every other country. The democratic spaces that allowed resistance to the onslaught of rampant neoliberal policies have shrunk considerably in India. Democratic institutions that ensured accountability on the part of the government are being systematically undermined today. Unity in diversity that India always prided in as its unique contribution to the world civilization itself has fewer and fewer takers today. And the new and draconian laws that are brutally imposed by the law enforcers and the law courts that deliver slow and even biased judgments make freedom and rights provided by the Constitution of India a mockery. Privatization of the commons is a declared policy to benefit a selected group of corporate companies. In other words, India is faced with very grave challenges. At the same time, there are common people who are standing up and saying another world is possible, another India is possible. The mass movements that resisted the Discriminatory Citizens Act and the farmers' agitation are but the two recent examples of the solidarity and determination that we see among the people in India. Unfortunately, the pandemic played a spoil spot, coming as it did to the aid of the government to suppress both these big movements that was nationwide. But the farmers are still fighting. They are still sitting on the borders of Delhi, saying that the new laws that have been brought by during the pandemic, this is not acceptable to us as farmers. India at the moment is going through a very great tragedy that was, I think, eminently avoidable. COVID-19 is taking its toll on unsuspecting populations as nowhere else. The poor and the vulnerable, such as the millions of migrant workers, domestic workers, transgenders, the urban poor, and those on the social margins are the worst affected as the second wave of the pandemic unfolds. It is estimated that India will soon have 500,000 and more new cases reported every day. And there will be 5,000 deaths happening in India every day. Those affected are gasping for oxygen and fighting for hospital beds and basic essentials, thanks to a government that prided itself in having eliminated the virus from the land officially and refused to prepare itself for a second onslaught of the pandemic. It is such a context that makes the vision of WSF important for our people. The pandemic and the impact of climate change bring home to us the fact that nature and humans need to befriend each other in a new and creative manner. Promoting and facilitating, I think, this new friendship between nature and humans is an urgent task of the WSF as it enters into a new decade of its existence. Given the freshness of its vision and the nature of its network, I think WSF is an idea whose time has come today, perhaps more than 20 years ago. What is required is a concerted effort to reach grassroots communities and their mentors everywhere. I'm saying everywhere, so that it attains the status of a self-driven movement of the people themselves. The opportunities offered by the new media in the context of the pandemic offers us a very brilliant opportunity. It is important that we do not lose this opportunity. Organizations that I am associated with and many more everywhere, I think, are prepared, are a lot more prepared than a decade ago, perhaps 2 decades ago, for this urgent task of connecting people and taking our battle forward. And I want to wish the WSF the very best in this task, and we are all prepared to be partners in this onerous task. Thank you, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Varghese. It's been interesting to hear you hear you saying that it would be nice to have the WSF attain the status of a self-driven movement, which has a lot of implication. And of course, we can see, especially in Asia, that there's been a kind of recess of the IDEA Forum after Mumbai, or after 2006 seems to be a moment where the last forum in Pakistan, last forum in India, after there is a little forum in Hyderabad, but it's 10 years after. And yes, the question of the shrinking of the democratic space, which probably makes difficult in some region now to organize this process as it should be. So these are, of course, challenges, and we can comment on them. So now we are starting the discussion part. So we have more than still 1 hour to go. Thank you for the panelists for being short in general. And are there questions? I have tried to raise points in commenting in each of the interventions. I can also come back to the list of questions that we had shared for this session, which is more focused on the effect of participating in the forum rather than organizing it, which it's kind of further step to be taken. So what does a movement need from interaction with other movements? This talking from the participation point of view. One of the announced function of WSF is encounters for articulation for effective action. How as or would this take place. I suggest that we make, because I don't see questions in the chat or in the question and answer section. So maybe we can go on with this issue of what are the learning that your participation, even if it's sometimes some times ago that you were in this participation, what has been the lessons learned from participation in your WSF, in your experience, and then we can go to another point after that. So maybe who wants to take this, what's been the lessons learned in practice through your participation in the WSF you have been involved in for your movements and your practice as a social movement. So
can I say something, Pierre?
Yes, sure.
Okay, I think this was one of the greatest impact on our political thinking while participating in World Social Forum processes. For instance, before we went to India, we started organizing Pakistan Social Forum. And we brought together all the movements in Lahore at one time. And it was like a 2 days event where all the different organizations were organizing. And the lesson learned was that you have to provide an opportunity so people could speak, and then they themselves would decide about the issue of dictatorship, democracy, shrinking spaces, movements, class, and all other. But the main lesson we learned was from India. It was an excellent gathering, very good disciplined gathering. The way they organized was very good. And we from Pakistan had first-hand experience of Indian hospitality. For instance, the delegation I led from Lahore stayed few hours in Amritsar, the first city into India, while crossing the Wagah border. And at Amritsar, it was first major delegation that entered the city after the independence of Pakistan. So from 1947 till 2004, there was not such a numbers which came into the city, and we were giving a very good welcome by the local administration. The minister came, and all the movements came, and this was like few hours before we take the train to Mumbai. And our exchange with the Indians was absolute tremendous in this one. And whatever we learned there, although we are not involved anymore in the same process, but we are not going anywhere from our thinking. Our thinking is the same. We found other areas where we could be active. For instance, I was very active in South Asia Alliance for Poverty Eradication after World Social Forum, Nairobi, which was a bit disappointing for me. And we never left that path of bringing together people, although not through World Social Forum, but the lesson learned from World Social Forum, how to organize simultaneous workshops, meetings, thematic groups, how to invite people. So all the organizational aspects learned from World Social Forum process were our main lesson, which we implemented afterwards. And now in Asia-Europe People's Forum, almost the same, similar process is taking place, but at a different level. And we would be very happy if we can really revive the golden traditions of World Social Forum. Thank you, Pierre.
Welcome, Farooq. Yes, you put your video now. I didn't interrupt you, so you could quietly make your intervention. About the lessons learned, maybe some of the other panelists want to make a contribution. Especially to
can I come in?
Varghese, sure.
Thank you. I think one or two major lessons that I learned in my, in fact, the World Social Forum was happening during my formative years as an activist, as a movement builder. And one thing that came to me very strongly is the need for connectedness, the need for connecting people across geographical regions, across languages, across peoples, and that is possible. Until then, even technologically, perhaps it was much more difficult to find that connections, but the World Social Forum proved again and again, and especially my Bombay experience and also the Hyderabad experience, where we had the Asian Social Forum taking place, that people can be connected. Our struggles are common across nations, and this solidarity is something that we need to build up and build on. And I think that is where I think the new technologies can help us immensely in making these connections across nations, across national boundaries, across many other limitations. Because at this juncture, when governments are turning liberal, I would even say fascist, in many parts of the world, people who love democracy, people who love people's rights, I think we need to come together. So this is one lesson I think that we learned from that process. Yeah.
Thank you, Varghese. Would Boonthan or Mikyung make an input on this issue of what has been learned from the format of the forum, even though the forum itself might has not been continued in Asia so much, but is there any comment that you want to do? Boonthan or Mikyung?
Yes.
Boonthan, okay.
Yes, Pierre. Actually, just only respond to this question. But you put the question earlier, if those 20 people, Thai education, who went there to survive, yes, a few of them already passed away. Few of them become sick and paralyzed. But for the rest, most of them are playing a very key role as the leader in the movement in various sectors. I think that is also something that we can also tell you. Once this crisis came, then we were always together. So to work together under the context of the World Social Forum, it shouldn't be any problem if we want to proceed and continue to reactivate the World Social Forum in Asia or Southeast Asia together. But we also really need time to interact with one another, to spend some time to, the stock checking, whether our movement, our readiness, and our capacity is there. Because from my observation is that many countries at the moment, many of them were stuck with their own domestic struggle. And that is also something that hindering them to join in the struggle, join in the regional or the collective struggle. But once we were able to to accumulate our momentum for common change, what we really need is the common goal. So far, the common goal is not yet really materialized. I think this is also the challenge for many of us in the region. Otherwise, we have to work within our own movement, our own sector. This is also create some tension with different others. From my experience, I also learned from Laukinji, our partner from Boonthan College, the global university, that that is also the strength of the regional uh, uh, cross-border movement in the region as well. So many regional organizations become defunct and become dried out after some time due to their financial resources, due to their uneasiness to move on because of many of them were so exhausted. I think that is also the challenge that we have to find out and how to come across this problem. For connecting with our friends from different continents. Of course, if we were able to come across the problem of language or communication, that would be also help a lot. Because our friend who went there to Puerto Rico, some of them also were able to meet with our friend from Chiapas, from Zapatista, also learning from their struggle. That is also enable them to think about the broader view on how they are going to modify or to adjust the movement, and also in order to extend their international solidarity to the other. I think this is also one of the most important things, that is also provide us the platform for the learning. So in the meantime, I will also seek the opportunity to communicate with our friend here, the panelists Mikyung or Farooq or our friend from Colombo, to see in the future what are we going to do and to collaborate with one another. This is just only my very first time to come back to the World Social Forum platform. So I also eager to learn from all of you.
Thank you. Then.
And what I mentioned at this time is, well, how can I put this idea? What we learned with the participation of the World Social Forum is how we can maximize our participation in a broader movement in the decentralized circumstance, not the centralized one. For example, at the beginning, when the Korean social movement participated in the World Social Forum process for the first time, we tried to bring our issues as much as possible and try to get draw attention as much as possible from other participants. But later on, we realized that this is not a good way to strengthen the whole movement. So after that, we learned the way to respect other social movements in a mutual way, and how we can build our strengthen build our strength of the social movement. So, and we'll also learn that the rights we want to achieve is not exclusive for others. When we try to protect and strengthen our rights, it is the way to strengthen the rights of others. So we learn the mutual respect and mutual inclusiveness. And through this process, we can build a strong action without harming other social movement and other weakening the other social movement and others' argument in the movement.
Thank you, Mikyung. I think it's we're getting into more sophisticated and interesting points as you placed the idea of learning to listen and find this mutual respect and trying to define achievable common goals into some coalitions or articulations that are self-organized within the WSF space. We have some comments. How do we create common goals? That's a question, a kind of discussion to discuss. Maybe we can get into the perspective with this heritage that all of you carry, sometimes back nearly 20 years ago or 15, but not maybe the 10. There's been kind of a 10 years blank in WSF in the region, except for the Hyderabad attempt, a small forum that was taken, and also Nepal Social Forum in 2018. But the last significant forum has been in Dhaka, in Bangladesh, in 2011, as far as I know. If we look forward, there is this perspective of the Mexican forum, which is it's after the virtual forum of earlier this year. This forum will be present face to face, but we don't know exactly how much. And of course, there is, at the moment, this has not been discussed yet very much, but it has been agreed principally that this forum will have also an online virtual aspect. So this opens a possibility of movements like yours to participate, find ways of participating, I would say, locally, and also maybe sending one delegate or a small delegation in Mexico and combining these two things. So what do you, maybe I can just send a question to you. What would be your level, the level of involvement that you would be able to take, either as actively participating in a scheme with a virtual forum coupled with a presential forum in Mexico? So you could be active participants, meaning organize activities, announce initiatives, articulation for actions formulated through discussions, etc. Or even you could participate in some international facilitating committee for this international online scheme. So what are the, I would say, the considerations that you could share about the possible involvement of your movements in this active participation, or even facilitation, which is the step where there is some kind of working as at the service of others, but at least active participation, which is more directed to your goals as movements. So it would maybe, it's a suggestion to comment on with a practical prospect of next year's forum in this double aspect of presential Mexico plus virtual world scale. So whoever wants to comment on this.
Is Pierre? May I?
Yes. Yes.
Actually, I didn't respond to your question directly, but I just want to highlight something that from our experience here in the region, when we are trying to reactivate our process here called PP21, the People Plan for the 21st Century, which we have been left aside for almost 25 years. Actually, it is also longer time also. It's the prehistory of the World Social Forum, which started in 2001. Anyway, what we find out is that we faced some sort of the gap. The first gap is in terms of the intersectional group, intersectoral group. How we going to ensure that people from different movements, different sectors are able to come across to one another. The second gap regarding the theme, the concern issue, because many organizations have some focus on particular issue. How are they going to come across, for example, one group interested on the LGBT issue, but the other group are concerned on the climate change issue. Some other group concerning about the agricultural issue. How these three groups are going to work together hand in hand. I think that is also some challenge in terms of the thematic gap. The third gap is related to the question of the culture and traditional language, which I think this is also the very challenging for many of us also within the World Social Forum process. The fourth gap is referring to the generation. What we were facing here in the region is that the old generation like us, like some of us here, we were grow up in the 80s or 90s, but at the moment the young generation X, Y, or Z or Alpha or whatsoever, they are so talking different language, but they were also aiming almost the same thing. How we can come across this sort of a generation gap? I think this four gap also need to be addressed and sharing from each other how we going to resolve this problem before we going to tackle the issue of the key motto from what I learned from World Social Forum for Varghese is about another world is possible, which is also some compatibility to what we also learned from the PP1 process, talking about the Japanese local language called Shanakashaba. It's meaning something like the world shouldn't be like this, something like that. It's this quite similar meaning in sense. So how are we going to fine tune in the meantime to come up with a common goal in order to move forward together? I think this is also feasible for our region, and also perhaps it's also providing the opportunity for many of us to join into the world social process, either in the region or at the local level. Thank you.
Mikyung Varghese, Farooq, about the prospect of actively participating in the process in the coming year towards Mexico with this online and presential dimension. Boonthan has mentioned 4 gaps that need to be filled somehow. What about your vision, your respective vision of the conditions in which and the type of activity of participating formats you could develop in this context of a online plus presential social forum event next year, but also as of now, you could also participate online and show your involvement in this process. So what comments welcome about this concrete perspective?
Can I say something?
Yes, Mikyung, go ahead. And then we have somebody else I didn't identify, but okay, Mikyung.
Yeah, well, yeah, I cannot imagine what will be the world like next year, whether we overcome the COVID-19 pandemic or the crisis in different dimensions like health crisis and job crisis, the pandemic brought out is resolved or not. So it's very hard for me to think about the next year's World Social Forum in Mexico, but I think from my experience of the virtual World Social Forum of this year, this January, we have to come up with some kind of common goal or common agenda. And something we have to seek a solution in a global scale. For example, how we can overcome the inequality in terms of the vaccination under the pandemic, and how we can cope with the climate change as a global crisis. So we can identify some key elements and key area we have to combine the strength and the power of the social movement in the country to bring about some kind of a global scale solution is needed. So the slogan "Our world is not for sale," no, the another world is possible, is was very catching at the time. So to draw attention and interest from the people who have been far away from the World Social Forum process for the last 10 years, we have to develop some kind of the common goal and the common action point we have to bring our power.
Okay, Mikyung. This comes a very interesting discussion about how to have a narrative that is appealing for people to say reconnect or connect to the forum and explain what they can expect and what they and how they can progress towards those those expectations, because the expectation comes through active participation, not just through passive attendance. So yes, there is a dialectics of imagination and preparation of these possibilities. Just as an information, the World Social Forum virtual has been an occasion for developing some formats of participation that are new, in the sense that two things were new. The idea of developing kind of, say, didactic panels through the facilitating group, which give some visibility, but they're not pretending to represent the forum participants. And also the form of participation of announcing initiatives of action, self-organized, clearly defined, and clearly defining who is involved, and giving dates of action, which forms a calendar. So in that calendar, people can find proximities and they can discuss articulation further. So this is a kind of tool that is consistent with the approach of World Social Forum, which of course needs to be owned and used in practice to gain real relevancy. But these are possibilities to explore. Other comments? Yes, sure, Varghese.
Thank you. Yeah. One thing that is important to observe is that there are new margins that have developed, new peripheries that have developed since the WSF was active. And as you said, perhaps it was till 2011 that the WSF was active. Then there has been and these new margins include victims of new forms of identity politics. Say in a country like India, this in the last 10 years, this has been a very major factor. And those who have been even otherwise on the margins, socially, economically, culturally on the margins, are faced with the new forms of victimization, and how to bring these people effectively into the WSF platform, I think is a very important factor. And these include, say for instance, LGBTQ community, as the huge number of migrants, the new types of victimization that the minority communities face, religious, cultural, linguistic minorities face, and there are others. I think these these sections of people need to be brought in very effectively into the ambience of the WSF. And how we can do that, this is something that I think need very important deliberations. The second is the whole change in the nature of work. Now, technology has taken away the whole description and concept of work itself, and labor rights, many other things that we took for granted for the last over 100 years have been done away with so easily. And the especially the new technological platforms that have developed that gives no identity to workers. The other factors that play in the world of work, the increasing, say now in India, for instance, 44 labor laws have been taken away, that have been gained over the last 100 years. These have been taken away, and then what we are left with are 4 labor codes that practically takes away every labor right of every worker. Now, how do we face such situations? In other words, the world of work has come to be altered and redefined, and that has taken away the way we understand work and the way workers' rights are obtained. I think this is another major issue that we need to bring to the platform that we are talking about of the WSF in Mexico.
Can I say something, Pierre?
Yes, just to complete,
Yeah.
and this is happening in the context of the pandemic, and I think this places a very major challenge. So, communities, it's important as we prepare for the WSF in Mexico. These marginalized communities are met with, their issues are addressed, and they are brought into the whole process of WSF, for which we who work at the grassroots would be willing to participate in whatever form possible.
Okay, Varghese, this issue of accessibility of participation from marginalized groups has been also addressed in an earlier session of Forum Connect by Paul Divakar, and we are publishing the transcription of this, so we hope that you can also look at the discussions, the earlier discussions, and try to formulate some practical questions for that are relevant for participation down the flow. Farooq?
Okay, I like to say that the objective conditions are becoming very difficult. It is much more difficult what we faced in early 2000 and further down. The process of the extreme right-wing thinking is expanding everywhere and shrinking places you can see everywhere. And our Indian friend just told how labor rights have been taken away. The same story here in Pakistan. So I think the objective condition would force us to come together again, which is the only way for our survival. So World Social Forum, the process which regenerated through last year, this year virtual World Social Forum, and the way you have been now putting a lot of effort to bring again together some revival campaigns. So I think these, the activists in Asia particularly need such a forum, and they need more than ever before because of the policies of the new liberalists who are privatizing everything, who are selling everything. We are facing religious fundamentalism and imperialism, both at the same time, both attacking the working class. There is more poverty, poverty is on the ever increase, inequality is on ever increase. You can see the reports of Oxfam. So we are participating in these campaigns, and also the pandemic has worsened the already worsening condition of the working class in Pakistan and also the other countries. Now we can see what's happening. Pakistan and India, both atomic powers. And what atomic power? They don't have oxygen to provide to the hospitals. Shame on the government of these two countries who can build a lot of arsenal arms to threat each other. They can't use it, but they can at least threat each other. And they're using a lot of money on arms anyhow, but they are not spending even 1% of the total GDP on the health issue. This is the time where we have to move on this free people's vaccine campaign, which has already been started. And I can tell you the last thing, that when we saw the pictures of our friends in India, Pakistan stands with India, Pakistan solidarity with India was top trends on Twitter in Pakistan. Despite all the enmity promoted by the ruling classes, the people of Pakistan expressed extreme solidarity at this in the last 3-4 days. I have seen never in last maybe 10 years the sympathy which is at this time, not like they are happy what's happening. They are really sorry that what's happening in India. And India, where the government was done with the pandemic, so is in Pakistan, the ruling class, the Imran Khan regime. So we need processes like World Social Forum more than ever. Thank you, Pierre.
Welcome. Maybe now we can move to a open questions that you would formulate. Some of you that's been steered by the discussion, and you want this to share with other panelists so that everyone can express some ideas around them. So time for open suggestion and questions. Whoever has one to share with us.
Yes, Pierre, can I?
Yes, sure.
I have a question. I think this is the very first time that I take part in the World Social Forum on connection like this. I just want to ask if we have any existing mechanism within the region. I mean, for example, in Asia or in Latin America, this and that, or just only the international connecting body. That I think that is also one of the questions. If so, then do you have some sort of the list of the contact person who play an active role in the previous World Social Forum in the region or by country basis? So if for Southeast Asia, I might be able to link them together and to have some sort of consultation. I do not know what happened in East Asia of Mikyung or our brothers from Pakistan and India. If you have some existing mechanism, I think we can also start the process. But in the meantime, we can also working together. How do you call that? To go beyond the regional effort. If the Mexico session of the World Social Forum next year, we're able to identify some key area of the problem that, for example, earlier, Mikyung have already elaborated some point regarding the COVID-19, this and that. When our brother from India raised the question of the marginalized sectors, this and that. So should we identify some key common area that we were facing in the world today, like, for example, like the COVID-19 pandemic, or the question of violence, or the question of justice, threefold issue, and then let's different platform, different area, try to move on the issue and working together along this line. And from time to time, then we may come back again to find out the way how to materialize, how to concretize the event, international event in Mexico next year. That is also some of the brief example. It might not be practical for this time because of I was quite away from the movement from the WSF. Anyway, just only some of my humble suggestions and questions. Thank you.
Yes, Boonthan. So I think you have put the emphasis on two things: the mechanisms and the problems. So I would say the mechanisms. There are some possibilities, but of course we are always faced with the technology. So I would say, in the case, for instance, Farooq and Varghese, they are in a WhatsApp group, South Asia, where people are, it's just an open space, I would say, where people can, they can start discussion if they want, but it's just a space, welcome space for people that are interested in WSF issues, and they can start discussing, then create their own things. There is also the possibilities to register as a participating organization in the platforms that have been created on occasion of the virtual social forum. So these are concrete things. And about the problems, I would say this is part of the participation. That's proposing some articulation around, starting to gather people around some, the relevant people around some issues, and proposing discussions and then initiatives, etc. This is a kind of the normal progression that can be self-organized. But I think your questions are quite to the point. Thank you.
Can I say something
Sure.
on this point? While listening the comments and questions from other panelists, I fully agree that the world social process is needed more than ever under the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and the numerous difficulties we are facing right now. So maybe as a lead up to the World Social Forum of next year, at the regional level, the Southeast Asia or South Asia or East Asia or Asia as a whole, we can build some kind of common ground, and the feelings we are connected and we are supporting each other by exchange during the situation in each countries and the expression of solidarity to each other. For example, in Korea, many people in the social movement or some ordinary people really want to express their solidarity to the people in Myanmar who are fighting against the military coup and the massacre. So maybe we can open a space. As a first step, we can build some kind of list of contact person in each other and open up a space where we can show and express our solidarity for the movement in different countries, like in Thailand and India. It's a big concern of us. So maybe we can start that kind of thing to accumulate the experience of the exchange and the feeling of solidarity among ourselves.
Okay, I will share this group I was mentioning, and of course you can. This is a kind of snowball thing. It depends on, I would say, the software, organizing software that we have in our minds. And in that case, we can make this group grow. And then people, when they want to make something more specific, they can use the participation formats that are available, activity, initiative, between at an explicit articulation of organization. So the idea is articulate for dialogue, which doesn't mean compromise to common action, but compromise to dialogue on definite and specific topics. These are activities, and articulation for action once common goals have been identified. And this is an initiative. So there is these two formats that are available and visible. We can share here in the chat in the platform that has been created this year for the virtual forum. It's a possibility to explore and see what is called activities and what is called initiatives, which are two different things. You can explore this, and we can try to through the East Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia groups, we can try to keep some momentum. Okay. No, it's of course, this is a very getting to practical ways based on recent experience. So you can assess this recent experience and say, okay, how can we use this and go further using these formats in this platform. So Boonthan has contributed this question of mechanism and common goals that has been identified. Are there other open questions that you want to share for our remaining 20 minutes?
Just some sharing of experience. There's the Chinese proverb saying something that there is the crisis, but there is always the opportunity in the crisis. So though I'm not the Chinese, but my grandparent is the Chinese. He told me when I was so young that if you face the crisis, for example, we have the COVID-19 crisis, how are we going to convert and take opportunity during the crisis to convert it to the opportunity for change? I think that is also something very challenging. So I couldn't find out the answer yet how we're going to do that. But this is also something that we have to think about. In my experience, I was coordinating the Asia Pacific human rights NGO in preparation for the World Conference on Human Rights 1993 in Vienna. So I also learned the experience that different organizations, different countries have their own focus, but they can also working together under the same platform as far as they have the common concern, common goal together in order to reaffirm the universality of human rights, something like that. But if we can find out the common goal or common value in order to mobilize our friend, our brother and sister in the region to take part in the process and to really think about their agenda. What should be our common agenda to work together as a human being in order to survive from the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, something like this. So I think that is also something we can also start with mobilization in the practical way, under the crisis. Thank you.
Farooq, Varghese, any comments? No. It's okay. So if or is there any? I'm trying to read some elements in the chat. The list of social forum by country and region. In fact, there is a calendar which I can share with you, which gives an idea of the different events that are taking place within the broad World Social Forum process. So let me find this. Here is the I give you this one, which you can go back to from now to earlier years. So this is there is the calendars. The idea is that it started being a yearly calendar, and now it's more going from one World Social Forum to another. So we have just started the calendar for the between the virtual World Social Forum in Mexico. So it's a small list, but so here is this one, the calendar 2021. But if you go to the calendar 2018, you will have a longer list, and it gives you an idea of different, so here it is in the chat again. It will give you an idea of different things that happened between the last forum in Brazil in 2018 and the virtual social forum. So this gives you an overview of where there is manifestation of something that is in the spirit of the social forum. Oh, someone is sharing it.
I've put it up if people want to have a quick look.
Okay, yeah. So you can see that it starts in March 2018 in Salvador de Bahia, and then on the right side there is a link where you can find more information. And then you have a series of events where they are, what type of manifestation it is, what are the date, the place, and the contact people from the International Council of the World Social Forum, and a link. So this is going down to the forum that took place in January, which like number 60, yes, the 67. So now if you go to the next, we're starting a new calendar from January, and maybe Mike, you can share this one, which is much shorter. It's starting from now, and for the time being, there is only a few events that are known up till May 2022, but possibly some other things will appear. So so this is another calendar. This is a calendar of events. The first calendar of action dates is more is completely, the content is completely coming from the description of actions that are made by the participants. So it's a different calendar. Yes, you can. So yes, if you scroll down this, Mike, you see the go on. Yeah, here you see the dates, and you see the description of the action, and you see the initiatives in which these actions are taking place, in the frame of which they are taking place. So, for instance, if you go to August, you scroll down to August. So this, you will see a call from two different initiatives. yes, 23rd of August and 17th of August. Now, if you go to the right column towards extraordinary mobilization, and the 17th is not visible here, but if you go to this one, this is an initiative proposed by trade unions to prepare mobilization at the time of Singapore Davos meeting. And this is a part of the calendar. It's been expressed. Yes, here you see the description of the initiative. And first you see the organizations. So you have the goal, but just above the goal, you have are the organization cooperating in this initiative, promoting organization. So you see these are trade unions. But then if we go to another view, you have there's been an assembly in let me find this. There's been an assembly in the virtual social forum, which has made a declaration in which they want to build a common agenda. So this this one is appearing. Let me find this in because I'm trying to show the declaration, and it's and come here, or it can come here also. Davos. Maybe Mike, you can also. I'm sharing the link in the yeah, trying to access the chat. Yes. In this link, you can find the two initiatives that are with the same goal around the Davos in Singapore. You see, so this is just searching the name Davos in the calendar of actions, and you see there are two initiatives that are focusing on the same thing by this around the same date, but coming from two different initiatives. And there is this initiative from the trade unions, and there is also an initiative which is the declaration of an assembly, not exactly assembly of social movement as was mentioning Mikyung, but assembly of peace and environmental movements. And yes, this one that is showing now Mike. So the same way you have which are the organizations that are preparing this assembly. But if you go to the document that you see, there is, if you go down, Mike, and you see not completely down. Yes, download. Yeah, this one. If you download this document, you will see the list of signatories, which is about 50 organizations signing this declaration, and with a kind of commitment. So now, then, this is an announcement. Then the question is developing this commitment into practical steps, which is still remains to be done. But we are in the forum concept, so these are self-organized articulations showing themselves, and people can get in touch with them to develop further. Here you see this declaration. Here is again, I put the link. You can see the declaration from this assembly. Yeah. And you have the list of signatories that is below. So it's not an anonymous declaration. It's been prepared by, and here you go, yeah, here you have the list of signatories. So there are about 50 or 60 organizations and 80 individuals. This was done in the spur of the moment. Maybe the list has been increased because it was an online form to sign. So of course, it's up to the organizers of those assemblies to develop further the interaction between the signatories, etc. So it's not the task of the forum organizers; it's a task of the assembly organizers. But it's interesting. This has been experimentation in the frame of this virtual forum, and they can be taken further. And there's been a know-how using the virtual format. So. Any comments from our panelists about these formats?
I think that's good and it's easy to find. So you have explained quite well how to find it and so on. And that's even better now. We can read it more properly.
Yeah, I feel that a great deal has been done already. Perhaps we need to consolidate it further with more organizations coming in, with more people getting connected.
That's why, I mean, yes, it's that's why it's the questions by Boonthan about the mechanisms, etc. We can through this discussion we can give you further elements for you to get involved.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, Pierre, for this information. So I will start browsing the information from the website anyway. But the matter of fact, here in Thailand, the NGO people from the ground, just only less than 5% they are using English. So I think
Yes,
you
we know.
dedicate to many of them. So thank you.
Yes, we know this is an issue. This is an issue.
So those
But
they did not use English.
But you can use you can use the formats even with filling the formats with minimal English and having the documents in Thai, or I mean it's possible to have this multi-language handling and being inclusive, because then if you create an online discussion in your country, of course, it doesn't have to be in English, although you can have maybe an English interpreters for those who want to participate from outside, but it won't be it would still be in Thai. So there is many ways to accommodate these challenges, which are very, very deep. But
good.
Could I come in here, Pierre?
Sure, Mike.
Just from a technical perspective, I think many of you are aware that the International Alliance of Inhabitants has created a volunteer interpretation group. We currently have just under 80 volunteer interpreters who are providing the services today and for other meetings. We're hoping to expand this to include other languages, not just the European languages. So Boonthan, if, for instance, you know of young interpretation students who would like to practice English Thai, we can easily incorporate those into our interpretation team and expand the reach of these dialogues. I think it's critical that people can listen in their own languages.
Great.
So over this year, we will expand our range as we get the volunteer interpreters.
Great.
And just a word of thanks to all the interpreters today for stepping forward.
So we are about to there is a last maybe Mike, if you can share this last link, which is giving the main acts of participation that are available as of now. I mean, you can use them practically if you want to start developing some core group to participate into the process. So you can register an organization if you, yes. So register an organization. You can announce an activity, which is an articulation for dialogue between several organizations. You can formulate an initiative, which is an articulation for action with a goal and options and action dates, public action dates that are common. And this is opening a wide possibility of having decentralized action in simultaneous parts of the world, etc. So these are the dates. Then you can also publish a news from the forum, and you can, there is a website for that where you can send news that will be published by volunteers, and these will be published from the forum. So it means it's you as an organization or as a group of organization that are having the authorship, but it's within WSF News website. And I would say then we would add soon the question of finding the commenting proximities. Of course, if the calendar is wide enough, then you can look in the calendar which movements are involved in actions that are close to your concern. And so you can make contact with them and say, okay, we are working on else issue, you are working on else issue, and you are proposing these actions, we are proposing these actions, we could discuss together, which gives the idea of more activities to articulate more actions. So this is about the toolkit. It's not substituting politics of the movements, it's just helping them to participate actively and self-organizedly. So I think we are coming to an end of this session. We have tried to focus on the participation, what are the possibilities from social movements which are at hand. Of course, then the rest is yours, in the sense that it's up to your goals and your culture of participation. That was the lessons learned are important, because then you reinvest these things into the participation formats that are proposed. We have a message by Charles from Kyrgyzstan. It says, "Thank you for useful discussion. Let's hope Central Asia organization can be active in 21-22." Charles has participated in the virtual forum, and there is an initiative of which they are going to develop. So he is fully involved in this participation perspective. Well then, as a team,
Entonces,
we thank you for your participation.
agradecemos vuestra participación.
We will provide,
Nós
you are now involved in a mailing list.
Sorry,
Oh yeah. Just to end up saying, Mike?
No, I just ended the interpretation, so the interpreters can stop re-hearing them on the main channel now. Cynthia, I'll mute. No worries.
Oh, so I was just saying that we have now started a mailing list. So those who registered in this session will receive updates and information in the coming for the coming session. We have a next session scheduled the 8th of June, which is also focused on Asia, and more precisely South Asia, about more on from the organizing forum point of view, not so the participation, but how to organize something, the experience of organizing events, which we have seen has not been so easy in South Asia. And also we are developing this transcript and the videos that are being, thanks to the interpreters, because they are making videos available in Spanish or Portuguese or French or other languages when available. And so this makes, supported by transcript, make this material useful for other people in replay and in self-consultating mode, which is our goal. Now, the goal of Forum Connect is to create a corpus of knowledge based on dialogue about the social forum.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Thanks to Mike and the team of interpretation.
Muchas gracias, Mike, y el equipo de intérpretes,
My fellow panelists. So I have
y a
learned.
los panelistas.
I expect to learn, but
Realmente espero poder aprender de
that
esta experiencia.
to share with all of you. So hopefully we will be able to.
Entonces, espero que
Bye.
Yeah,
Thanks,
mejorar la
everybody.
calidad del
I do
sonido
want to
del
thank,
hablante. Muchas gracias a todos.
I do want to thank the
Me
organizers,
gustaría
Mike especially. I'm
agradecer a los
brought back to
organizadores,
the
especialmente a
to the
Mike,
WSF after a very long while, and I
porque
hope to be part of this movement more
espero
intensely.
ser parte de este
Thank you
movimiento
very much. It's
en
been a great learning.
reuniones venideras. Muchas gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Ciao.
You're welcome.
Adiós.
Thank you. Bye.
Adios.
Bye, everyone.
Adiós. Adiós
Thank you.
todos.
See you next time.
Nos vemos la próxima.
Let's before closing, let's get the chat.
Okay.
It's part of the, so
Yeah.
not very big chat. Yeah.
Leave the chat.
So you could save the chat first. And then, Mike, you will be closing the session.
I made George the host again. Thanks, George. Great. Thanks, everybody. I think that went well.
Thank you. So, Mike, please
We speak soon.
close the seminar.
George Kinchi. George is now the
No.
host.
Okay.
Closing speech.
I think if we all leave, it'll close. But George.
Okay. George, you can turn off now. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.